Welcome to an extended weekend edition of The Record. We have with us this week to break down the president's debt ceiling deal, the host of Meet the Press, Chuck Todd. It's always good to talk to you, Chuck. It looks like President Biden really drove this debt ceiling deal right down the middle of Congress. But is that more deft political skill or more just the reality, the political reality, the necessity that Congress had to avert this crisis?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Look, I do think that Joe Biden, being a longtime senator, has more patience for congressional negotiations than, say, either Presidents Obama or Trump did. I know Donald Trump likes to talk about being a negotiator. He doesn't have the patience. Congressional negotiations require a lot of patience. And I think Biden has more of it than most presidents that we've had, arguably maybe even going all the way back to Lyndon Johnson, right? The last senator, last president we had that enjoyed being a senator before they became president. So I think that gave Biden some credibility with congressional negotiators. But look, I think this is a result of a lot of symbolism in that Kevin McCarthy needed to prove to his own party and to Democrats in the Senate and to the White House that they couldn't roll over him. And I think he proved that. Look, he couldn't get a ton, and I think he wanted to make the point, though, you can't get everything you want either. And I think that's what this deal shows. Look, substantively, it's not that big of a deal, okay? It's the difference between deciding whether you mowed your lawn or mowed your lawn and edged your sidewalk. And so it's cosmetic around the edges. It allows Democrats to say it could have been worse. It allows Republicans to say we did something. Something's better than nothing, which is, the way political compromise used to work when I grew up. And back then it was okay for everybody to declare victory. That was sort of the point. Everybody got a little bit. So I do think politically it's helpful to both McCarthy and Biden. But I also think this is probably the end of bipartisanship for the rest of the campaign season. I think out of necessity, Republicans, I think McCarthy got space to do this. I don't think he would get space to do another deal with Joe Biden. I think there would be less patience on his right flank for that. And frankly, there might be less patience on the president's left flank to do another middle-of-the-road deal in this moment, particularly with campaign season heating up. So I do think I don't think we're going to see a sequel to the Joe Biden, Kevin McCarthy buddy movie.
Interesting outlook. Patience with Congress is one thing, but pressuring Congress to act, a president pressuring them to act might be entirely another thing. It sounds like you think that Biden bus is running out of gas. Does he have any juice to get some other bipartisan deal done on maybe immigration reform?
No, you're not. The immigration, there's too many candidates running for president, okay? There's too many governors that have sent National Guard troops to the border. There's too much political theater at stake for Republicans to politically, get. I promise you this, if you're looking for a blueprint for bipartisan immigration reform, it's got to be right after a major national election, right? The farther you are away from the next election, the more likely you can get bipartisanship. So I think the next chance at a bipartisan immigration deal is December of 2024.
All right, good to keep on our calendars here. This next question might be a bit of an unfair question, considering one has real-world impact and the other is basically just optics. But do you get the sense that this White House understands the sort of TikTok information economy we live in, one where, at least in the minds of younger voters, a big demographic heading into this upcoming presidential year, the viral visuals of an on-stage stumble might actually outlive or outlast the victory of navigating a divided Congress?
Look, I think the White House understands this current media environment very well. I don't think they have I think they know they have a candidate who's not as nimble rhetorically as he used to be. Some would argue he wasn't always that nimble rhetorically, right? Bidenisms would sometimes create problems for for Barack Obama back during the Obama presidency. Biden is a talker, right? But I think, I do think this is a White House that's a bit overly protective of the president. I think they keep more distance between the president and the press. I haven't seen this much distance between a president and the press corps since Ronald Reagan. And there may be a lot of comparisons there between Reagan, the way staff really always wanted, they were always worried about the perception of Reagan's age. The staff is always worried about the perception of Biden's age. Look, I don't think the Biden issue is a problem right now because he got right back up. I think if you fall and you hurt yourself, if you fall and you have a hard time getting up, I think that becomes more problematic. I think I think the fact that he got up as fast as he got up, you know, especially if it's Donald Trump sitting over there on the other side. All of these age questions with Joe Biden and all of these electability issues with Joe Biden, all of them get muted if Donald Trump's the opponent. All of them become a huge problem, I think, for Democrats if somebody else is the opponent.
Well, then the question of what voters want, the civics or more of a circus?
Well, I think that's what the Biden White House thinks, right? If it's Biden versus Trump, they can neutralize the age issue because they're both old guys who are probably older than they should be running for president, right? And they can make it just what you said, civics versus circus.
All right, Chuck Todd joining us from Washington, D.C. Thanks for your time.
All right, Mark.
You can catch the full edition of Meet the Press and all of his interviews tomorrow morning on NBC at 8 o'clock.